Hello friends. Now we'll discuss the important article from the chapter, Magnetic Properties of Matter. And that article is the classical Langevin theory of the diamagnetic materials. So in my earlier lecture, we have seen the basic things regarding these magnetic materials. Means what is the intensity of magnetization and how this magnetic induction is related to the intensity of magnetization and magnetizing field. What is the susceptibility? All these things we have discussed in my earlier lecture. Today we have to discuss this classical Langevin theory of the diamagnetic materials. So before actually going to discuss this classical Langevin theory, let us consider the concept of the magnetic moment. One more thing that you should remember is that these diamagnetic materials are the metals whose atom contains the paired electrons, means they have even number of electrons, and that's why if you take the magnetic moment due to the orbital motion of these electrons, the net magnetic moment is zero in absence of the magnetic field. But these materials get the net magnetization if you apply the external magnetic field, and how that happens, that we are going to discuss in this article. So first of all, we'll understood the concept of the magnetic moment. Here an electron orbit is considered equivalent to a current carrying a loop, because if you consider we are speaking about this orbit in absence of the magnetic field. So if you consider this circular orbit, it can be assumed to be equivalent to a current carrying a loop, because electron is revolving in this orbit, electronic charge particle, and we know that the rate of change of uh, uh, charge is nothing but current, and therefore we can assume this closed orbit as a current carrying a loop. Now, as I told you, the diamagnetism in the material arises due to the changes in atomic orbital states induced by the applied magnetic field. And when the flux linked with an electron orbit is changed, the induced current is set up in this orbit, which opposes the change in flux according to the Lenz's law. And the direction of the induced magnetic field and the applied field, they are opposite to each other, and hence the diamagnetic effect is observed. And we know that for diamagnetic materials, the susceptibility is negative, because the applied magnetic field and induced magnetic field, they are opposite to each other. So let us consider an electron in the atom of the diamagnetic material, which is revolving in the circular orbit of radius r, and suppose this omega 0 is the angular frequency. Omega 0 is the angular frequency. And the electron orbit is equivalent to the current carrying loop, and uh, according to the Oersted law, this will produce the magnetic field, means it will have associated with the magnetic flux, means magnetic flux is linked with this orbit, and hence the current in the loop changes in such a way that to oppose the changing of flux. In absence of magnetic field, we can write the equation as, because the centripetal force required for this circular motion, it will be given as mv square divided by r, where m is the mass of the electron and v is the linear velocity of the electron. And this is provided by the electrostatic force of attraction between this nucleus, which is positively charged, and this electron, and therefore we can write this electrostatic force as Ze square divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square. So this is the equation, that is the centripetal force required for the circular motion is provided by the electrostatic force of attraction between the nucleus and electron. But we know that this V will be related with the angular frequency as or angular velocity as V is equal to R omega 0, and therefore we can write using the value of V here, and solving we can write this as m into this omega 0 square R is equal to this Z e square divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 R square. So I will write this as equation number 2. I have converted this equation in terms of this omega 0. And here Z into E is nothing but the charge on the nucleus, and M is the mass of the electron. So if you simplify this terms, so this R and this R will be R cube, and you can write this omega 0 is equal to, after rearranging terms, you can write omega 0 is equal to square root of this Z square divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 into this m into this R cube. So this will be the angular frequency of electron in absence of the magnetic field. I will write this as equation number 3. Now suppose that we have applied magnetic field, and suppose B is the magnetic induction. B is the magnetic induction. We know that it will be given as B is equal to mu 0 into H. We know that. Then the electron will be acted upon by one more force, and it will be the Lorentz force. And that Lorentz force acting on the electron, it will be M is equal to, we know that it is minus E into this V cross B, where V is the velocity and B is the magnetic induction. If you assume that this magnetic field is perpendicular to the orbit like this, now we are speaking in presence of the magnetic field. If you apply the magnetic field and suppose it is perpendicular to the orbit, then the magnitude of the force, obviously, we know that the Lorentz force we have taken F is equal to minus E into this V cross B, and since B is perpendicular to the orbit and V is tangential here, so these two will be perpendicular to each other, and therefore if you solve this, it will be V into B into sine 90. Sine 90 is 1, and therefore we will get the magnitude of this Lorentz force as F is equal to minus E into this V into this B. And in terms of omega 0, we can write this as minus E into this omega 0 R into this B. So this will Lorentz force acting on the electron. So one more force will be acting on the electron in presence of the magnetic field, and hence we can write the force equation as now M into omega square R, because due to the application of the magnetic field, now the angular frequency will change as omega, and we can write is equal to Z e square divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 R square. This is the electrostatic force of attraction between the electron and nucleus, and this additional force will be minus E into omega 0 R into this B. So we have the value of this Z square divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 R square from this equation 2. We can use there as m omega 0 square R, and therefore we can write this equation as this m into omega square R is equal to this m into omega 0 square R minus this E into this omega into this R into this B. So in presence of this magnetic field, so this will be omega only. It will not be omega 0 because we applied this magnetic field, and therefore it will be omega. So minus E omega into this RB. Now, if you further simplify these terms, you will get this as, so R will get cancelled, and you will get this equation as omega square is equal to omega 0 square minus this EB divided by this m into this omega. Or we can write this equation as omega square plus this EB divided by m into this omega minus omega 0 square is equal to 0. So we will get this equation after applying the magnetic field to the orbit. We are considering single orbit and we will get this equation, and this equation is nothing but the quadratic equation in omega. So we can solve this equation, and we will write the this equation is in the form of ax square plus bx plus c, and the roots are given as x is equal to minus b plus minus square root of b square minus 4a divided by 4ac divided by 2a. So using that formula, we can write the roots of this equation as omega is equal to this 1/2 into bracket this minus b. So this will be minus eb divided by this m. This is plus minus square root of b square minus 4ac. So b square, it will be eb divided by m and its square plus 4 omega 0 square. So a is equal to 1, and therefore we will get this omega is equal to this. If you further simplify this, you will get this as omega is equal to this is plus minus square root of this omega 0 square plus this eb divided by 2m, this bracket square, and this minus eb divided by 2m. But it is observed that this quantity E into this B divided by 2m is very small as compared to omega 0, and therefore we will neglect this term because this is very small as compared to omega 0, and therefore we can write omega is equal to, or we can write this is approximately equal to this plus minus omega 0 minus EB divided by 2m. So what does this equation indicates? This equation indicates that this is the frequency, omega is the frequency of revolution of electron in presence of this magnetic field, and omega 0 is the frequency of revolution in absence of the magnetic field. So the frequency changes by factor EB divided by 2m in presence of this magnetic induction. And this frequency EB divided by 2m is called as Larmor frequency. It is called as Larmor frequency. And this shows that the electrons with the orbital moments which are parallel to the field, they are slowed down, whereas the electrons with the orbital moments which are anti-parallel, they are speeded up. Means here it is observed that the electrons whose orbital moments are parallel to field, parallel to fields means you have to take this as plus. So then it will be omega 0 minus EB divided by 2m, so that its angular frequency will be decreased. Means its moment will be decreased, and those who are anti-parallel, they their resultant angular frequency will be minus omega 0 minus EB divided by 2m. So it will be a speeded up, it will be added. So that is how we can see that what is the effect of this application of this magnetic field to the electron orbit. So this is very important quantity, and it is called as the Larmor frequency, and that theorem is called as the Larmor theorem. So here I have shown that here this applied magnetic field is applied in this direction, and if this orbital moment is in a downward direction, then this angular frequency it will be added up, and if it is parallel, then its angular frequency will be decreased. Now we know that this is the change in frequency. We know that the change in frequency produces the change in frequency produces an additional current, and that current is given as current I is equal to, obviously it is given as charge divided by time, or it is periodic time, charge divided by time. Now here the charge of the electron is minus E, and this is 1 upon T is nothing but the frequency. It is nothing but the frequency of revolution. It is frequency of revolution, and we can write this as minus E into this frequency. I can write this frequency as F, but we know that omega is equal to 2 pi F. Therefore, I can write F is equal to omega divided by 2 pi. So I can write this as minus E. I will use the value of omega, that is the change in frequency, and that is nothing but EB divided by 2m, and this is nothing but 1 upon 2 pi. So it will be minus E square B divided by 4 pi m. So this will be the current, additional current it will be produced in this orbit. And because of this current, the magnetic moment of current loop containing a single electron, we know that it is given as, so in it we can write as the magnetic moment of current loop containing single electron is, we know that it is given as, I will write this as mu E is equal to, this is the current multiplied by the area of the loop. This is the standard formula. So we know that here A is the area of loop. Obviously, since the circular loop is there, so its area will be pi r square, and the magnetic moment of the single electron, it will be value of I we have derived, it is minus E square B divided by 4 pi m into this pi r square. So simplifying this, you will get this pi cancel, and you will write this as minus E square B divided by, this is nothing but 4 m into this r square. So this is the magnetic moment of a single electron, and it is given as minus E square into B divided by 4m into r square. Now here the negative sign indicates that the induced magnetic moment is directed opposite to the magnetic field B. So if B is actually we have taken B as perpendicular to the orbit, we have taken this B as perpendicular to the orbit. So we have taken this B perpendicular to the orbit. But if B is not perpendicular to the plane of orbit, then radius of orbit R, this radius of orbit R, that means this value, we have to, it will represent the projection of R, which is projection of R on a plane perpendicular to B. If this is not actually perpendicular, that means I will show somewhat like this. So this is, so if it is not actually perpendicular to the plane, if it is inclined orbit, if you take it at, then the radius of orbit will represent the projection of this r on the xy plane. Means we have to take the projection of this radius on this xy plane, and if there are z number of electrons, if you take the total number of electrons which are z, these are the number of electrons in the atom with the random orientations of their orbit, means the orbits of these electrons, they are randomly oriented, then the total induced magnetic moment of all such electrons will be given by quantity m is equal to minus, I have to multiply by here z, remaining term e square divided by e square b divided by 4m, and I have to take the average value of the square of the radius, because here orbits are we are assumed that they are randomly oriented with respect to the magnetic field direction. We have taken this magnetic field direction along the z-axis, and hence the projection of r on this xy plane that we have taken. So here the average value of r, actually this r is the average radius of the electron orbit from the magnetic field axis, and which is the z-axis. And if this orbit lies in this xy plane as shown in figure, we can write this as, obviously by geometry, r square is equal to this average value of x square plus average value of this y square. You can write by using this geometry. Now, one more thing we have to consider as the mean square distance of electrons, the mean square distance of electrons, mean square distance of electrons from the nucleus, we have to calculate from the nucleus will be, actually that distance, if you assume that distance as r0, if you assume that distance as r0, then obviously we can write as average value of this r0 square is equal to average value of this x square plus average value of this y square plus average value of this z square, or z square of the z coordinate, we can call it. But since the charge distribution is a spherically symmetric, means the atom is spherical, we can assume the charge distribution is spherical symmetric, and therefore we can write this as x square is equal to y square is equal to this z square for spherical charge distribution, and it is a symmetric one, and that means we can write this as, from this equation we can write as average value of r square is equal to twice average value of x square, and from this we can write this as average value of r0 square is equal to thrice average value of x square. So you can write this as average value of r square is equal to r0 square is equal to thrice x square, and therefore if you use the value of average value of x square as r square by 2, you can write this as average value of r0 square is equal to, you can use here instead of this average value of x square, you can write this as 3, as it is average value of r square divided by 2, or you can write this implies average value of r square is equal to 2 by 3 average value of r0 square. That means we have calculated this average value of the radius, since the orbits are inclined that with the external magnetic field direction. So we have calculated this average value of r square in terms of mean square distance of the electrons from the nucleus. So you can use this value of r square in the expression for this magnetic moment of this atom as whole, and you can write this as m is equal to magnetic moment of this system as minus ZE square divided by it will be into this B divided by this 4m and into this average value of R square as 2 by 3 average value of this R0 square. So this will equal to minus ZE square B divided by it will be 6m into this R0 square. So remember this R0 square is the mean square distance of the electron from the nucleus. So this will be the expression for the magnetic moment of this atom of this diamagnetic material. That means it contains the Z number of electrons. So again, we know that this magnetic field, it is given as, or it is magnetic induction, it is given as B is equal to mu 0 H, and therefore this magnetic moment equation will become minus ZE square into this mu 0 H divided by this 6m into this R0 square. And suppose there are n number of atoms, that means a diamagnetic solid you are considering, in which suppose there are, if there are n is the number of atoms, n is the number of atoms per unit volume, and each contains, means each atom contains Z electrons, then we can write diamagnetic susceptibility. We can write diamagnetic susceptibility as chi is equal to m by h is equal to minus Z E square mu 0 divided by this 6m. I have to multiply here by n because I have taken the n number of atoms in the solid into this average value of R0 square. So this is the expression for the susceptibility of the diamagnetic material, and this shows that the susceptibility is independent of temperature, because this is temperature independent of the temperature. So this is the classical theory of the this is the classical Langevin theory of the diamagnetic materials or diamagnetism. Using that theory, we have obtained that expression for the total magnetic moment of atom and the susceptibility of this diamagnetic material as minus Z square mu 0 into n divided by 6n into this average value of this R0 square. So this susceptibility is found to be independent of temperature. It doesn't contain the temperature factor. So from this equation, we can conclude some things. As first thing that we can conclude is that I will write again here the expression for the susceptibility as chi is equal to this m by h is equal to minus n mu 0 into this Z square divided by 6m into this R0 square. So first conclusion that we can draw from this equation is that this diamagnetic susceptibility is directly proportional to the atomic number. That means if Z is the atomic number, then it is directly proportional to this atomic number. Second conclusion that we can draw is that larger the atom, larger value will be the susceptibility. Means if the atom is larger, means it contains a large number of electrons, then it will have the larger value of the susceptibility. Second, this is second conclusion. That means larger atom for larger atom we can that susceptibility is large. That we have to. Third conclusion that we can draw is that susceptibility is independent of temperature. It doesn't depend upon the temperature of the substance, temperature of the material. And one more conclusion that we can draw is that the diamagnetic is due to the influence on the of the magnetic field on the orbital moment of the electrons. Means it is due to diamagnetism is due to influence of magnetic field on orbital moment of electrons. Since you will observe that this phenomenon doesn't depend upon the spins of the electrons. The spin of the electron doesn't contribute here. Only orbital motion is responsible for the diamagnetism. And we'll give some examples as so antimony, then bismuth, then gold, then mercury, copper are some of the examples of the diamagnetic materials. And you will observe that the susceptibility of the diamagnetic materials is of the order of 10 raised to minus 6. So in this way we can study the Langevin theory of the diamagnetic materials. What is the orbital phenomenon that is responsible for the diamagnetic susceptibility that can be understood in this video. So I hope that you might have liked this video, and if you like this video, kindly subscribe my channel and share this video to your friends. Thank you for watching this video.